so much for joining me. If you haven't been here before, my name is Tracy and this is a DIY upcycling channel. And today I want to upcycle this men's denim shirt. It's a size large, it's a Wrangler, and it's really oversized, I think, for a men's large. It almost feels like an XL. I want to make this kind of whimsical and even more oversized. I kind of wanted to have a cape feel vibe, and I'm going to decorate it, embellish it with this thrifted bedspread, chenille bedspread that I got at a garage sale for $12 in the summer. Thrifted outfit of the day. I have a turtleneck that was a hand-me-down from a girlfriend, and these linen pants, thrifted. They're a little oversized and they dragged the ground. I cropped them and I took that cuff that was at the bottom, cut that off, and sewed it to the bottom of the shorter pants. I have some thrifted suspenders. These boots are great. These are Amazon. They're knee-high, pointy-toe, kitten heel boots, which are great with skirts and dresses. I have them in brown as well. I'll put the link in my description. Okay, let's get started with the shirt slash capey looking thing. So the first thing I want to do is kind of crop and cut, add some inserts to sort of change the shape of this. So what I did was I put it on and I stuck a pin, which is right here, where I want the front to hit. Keeping in mind I'll have 4.5 inch fringe. And then I stuck a pin in the back, which is just going to be a little bit shorter. It's going to hit just below my bum. And then I took a yardstick, and I do this standing in the mirror looking to get an idea. There's a shoulder seam right here on the top. I took a yardstick and I measured down just below my wrist to see what I want my finished length of the sleeve to be. And I want mine to be about 19 inches. So that's a number I would jot down or just keep in my brain. Okay, let's cut it up. First thing I want to do is cut this collar off. So I'm going to lift it up and go right down to where it meets the shirt. And I'm going to stay on this side, the collar side of that seam, when I cut it. I'm going to go to this pin that I pinned in the front and find the pin in the back. And I'm going to lay this sideways. So here's my side seam. Here's the pin in the back. Here's the pin in the front. And I lined the bottom up and I even stuck a few pins in there so it doesn't shift around on me. And I smoothed all of this out. And now I'm going to just eyeball this. You can draw a line or however you want from this pin to this pin. Now I have my shirt folded in half this way. Here are the buttons, here are the sleeves. I lined these sleeves up and I stuck a few pins in there so it wouldn't move around and smoothed it all out. I want 19-inch total sleeves. My fringe at the bottom is going to be 4.5 inches. So 19 minus 4.5 is 14.5. So I'm going to measure down from this seam 14.5 inches, make a mark. I already pre-did that. And then I'm cutting both sleeves at the same time, cutting straight across. I'm going to want to add 4 triangle inserts, 1 on each sleeve and then 1 on each side. I want this to be kind of boxy and oversized feeling. So the first thing I need to do is cut open the sleeves to make room for the inserts. So all I'm going to do here is come to this shoulder seam and I'm going to eyeball this. I'm going to start cutting from the bottom and just sort of head towards that seam there. and I'm going to get close to the seam, about 1/4 of an inch. Now I'm going to go to the side seams, and I'm going to cut right on that seam, and I'll trim off any extra seamage on the inside. So I'm going to cut this just close to this seam that comes underneath. We're going to be seam ripping that. So I'm going to say 1/4 inch, but you know, it really doesn't matter because we'll be cutting it all the way eventually. Now, on all 4 cuts that I made, I'm going to go to the seam above it. There's a seam above this one, all 4 of them. And I am going to seam rip about 1.5 inch slit right here. Now, once I have that seam ripped, the slit that we stopped, we can continue cutting that and cut it completely open. Now I need to make a pattern for my fabric triangle inserts. And I know this is 14.5 inches tall, so I made my triangle 15.5 inches tall, and I cut a little blunt piece at the top to make it easier to sew. And then I wanted this, I played with the sleeves, spread it out to see how much bigger I think I wanted it. And I think I wanted about 9 inches wider. So I made this 10 inches across at the bottom. Now I was all prepared to make another triangle insert for down here. But this is just slightly shorter than the 14.5 inches. So I am just going with this one to make life easy. You can use whatever fabric you want for the insert. I would have preferred a matching light colored denim, but I didn't have it. So I went to one of my vintage damask tablecloths and cut off part of it and dyed it with Rit Dye denim blue, just a few drips in the water to keep it this light. Now I'm going to trace and cut out 4 of these triangles. Okay, so now it's time to sew the inserts into the slits. And on the shoulders, they're going to be the easiest. I am going to do wrong sides together and have the seams on the outside. If you want your seams on the inside, just put right sides together. So I will just take one of these flaps and I will line this up right there. Do a 1/4 inch seam allowance and sew all the way down to the end. And then when I get done with that one, I'll come over here and sew the opposite side to this one. Same deal, 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down to both shoulders. Now, underneath the arm, so when you upcycle, these aren't patterns with instructions. You have to be a little bit of an engineer. So here it had this double seam going across, which wasn't as easy to seam rip and navigate as the shoulders. So I seam ripped all the way through. This was sewn together like that. I seam ripped all the way through. And I have some extra fabric here to sew my triangle to. And then when I'm all done sewing it, I will re-sew this back together to hide that stitch line. So on this, I will just take it and do just like the shoulders. Wrong sides together, sew down that side. Same over here. I will just have to stitch it together a little bit differently when I'm all done. I'm using a straight stitch, and I'm coordinating the thread with the original stitching in the shirt. Now, my triangles rarely line up with the original piece. So this is what I do. I just trim off that extra, blend it into the bottom, and it always seems to work out just fine for me. Now I'm going to first sew those shoulder holes closed because we have an opening still right there. So I will slide the arm of this into my machine, over the arm of my machine, lay this over top. I'll spread those out probably this way, lay that over top, and then just start maybe back here, go forward, back, follow that original stitching, come over here, do the same thing. I actually found it easier to slide it in through the top and not the sleeve. Now, here's the one underneath the armpit. It kind of looks confusing and messy, but all I'm going to do is just shove that in, and it has a nice fold, and I'll just go over those two stitch lines like I did at the top. Now, maybe I'll turn it sideways and just run a stitch down here for good measure and extra security. Now I have it inside out, and I'm just going to give those seams a little press. Okay, so my chenille bedspread had a bunch of daisy designs, and I just cut a pile out. I may need more. I don't know. At this point, I'll have to see how it goes. Okay, so maybe you have a chenille blanket, maybe you don't. If you do, is it going to have daisies? Probably not. Okay, so what you can do is there are other designs on my bedspread that are more scrolly, which would be really pretty. You could also make a daisy design if you have some sort of chenille or like a terry cloth towel, like white or even pink and yellow would be cute. Okay, and I'm going to give you more ideas for decorating this if you don't want to do flowers, daisies like this at the end of the video. And I'm going to cut my pocket off because I don't want to be limited where I place my flowers. Okay, now I'm just pinning all my daisies on. So cute. All right, I'm going to sew these on. I'm going to stay close to the edges, and I'll have to go around those little holes in the center, and I'm going to use a zigzag stitch. The flowers are all sewn on, and now I have all this long sort of bullion fringe that I trimmed from the bedspread, and I'm going to sew it around the arms and the bottom of the shirt. Okay, this is going to be super easy. I'm going to start at the underneath seam and just overlap about 1/2 inch on the bottom of the sleeve. And I think I'll do a zigzag stitch all the way around. And when I get back here, I will have to trim what's left because I have a really long piece. I'm going to overlap it a little bit and trim it. Now on the front, I'm going to just butt it up against, starting at the buttons, overlap 1/2 inch, a zigzag stitch all the way around, clip it off when I get to here. How cute is that? Such a simple concept, but so many possibilities. This would be super cute, just worn open and kind of draped like a jacket. All right, I have some more ideas for you. Maybe daisies aren't your thing, or white on denim. Blanket fringe at the thrift store. If you look at the blankets, that is yards and yards of fringe and different colors and things like that. Now, these are all tutorials. I'll number them and then put the link down in my description. So what about patches and handmade butterflies? Butterflies all over with some colorful fringe would be cute. What about some sparkly stars all over? Now, this was sort of a denim poncho, and the images were from beach towels, and then I handmade some flowers. Different colorful flowers would be really fun, or just flower bouquets. These were cut from curtains. Okay, I am going to bring it in a little closer, and I thank you so much for watching.